So, hi everybody, good morning. I know it's Tuesday, no surprises if you're guessing why it's is late now. And welcome to the Southend Guy Paranormal channel. This is Adam. This is the Monday vlog on a Tuesday. Hi, how you doing? And okay, so I'm going to start off with a little bit of a rant. Watching people losing their shit, shall we say, over all this fuel business. Now, I think it was incredible foresight on my part that I booked off yesterday from work. Obviously I normally work Mondays. The reason being is I did an extra night's work for me DJing Saturday night. As you know, I normally work Thursday, Friday night, and I don't normally do Saturday unless I really have to, because I like to keep filming for you guys. So this Saturday I did actually work, so I booked off the Monday. When I looked at the queuing still for yesterday, I'm bloody glad I did. Not only that, but again, because I worked the Saturday night, I usually fill my car up on a Friday. I stop at the local supermarket Emporium, fill it up, get me a sandwich, go back on to work. Well, because of the extra work night this weekend just gone, I thought I'm going to fill up Thursday night instead. And again, it was like, oh, that was a good thing. And the thing with my car is, my Saab, as you know, the good thing about it, he has a really big fuel tank. It's got about 70 odd litre. And I did my Thursday night in Brentwood, my Fridays in Putney. Saturday was down to Wallington near Croydon, and then a little trip up to Broomfield Sunday for a bit of filming, which I'll get onto quickly in a moment. So yeah, all that mileage, and I still have over half a fuel tank. So you know that car's really good in that respect. That's what it's built for, to cover distance. So, you know, it stood me in good stead. However, as you also know, I have two motorbikes which don't have long fuel ranges. Now, whilst I didn't need them this weekend, in fact, I couldn't use one even if I wanted to, because I've got to drop the back wheel out and get the puncture seen to. I haven't actually got round to it yet. Annoyingly, that bike has only done about 20 miles on the tank, so I've still got 80-mile range in it roughly. The other one, my Honda, it's, well, that gets used more often. Obviously it had less in it. I've done about 40-50 miles I think, and he only really does about 85. Excuse that, it's a bit wipers, it's a bit rainy this morning. As a range about 85-90 miles, so I didn't have a massive range when I got to it this morning. So I had to really this morning fill up. Now, fortunately, some of the madness has died down now, and I had a very interesting situation in that the garage I use I had to turn right into, and obviously there was a bit of queue coming for the other way, so I didn't really want to sort of show, trying to sort of show I'm taking a piss or anything, which I wasn't, and I sort of sat back because there was other cars that were in front of me. Well, as I done so, I got hooted by a Pratt and an Audi behind me. I've given a bit of a glare and moved forward. Fortunately, I don't think anyone was too worried about me, nudging in there, because the good thing with the bike is that I can get in and out very, very quickly. Whilst I didn't have a lot of range left, it don't take a long time to fill up because it is a small tank. And the other thing is, the garage on London Road, Lee, is pay at pump, so I won't take up anyone's time. Really don't. It's just bang bang and off you go. I think the longest time was taking the bloody gloves on and off to do it. Anyway, that was that. But the traffic queues now in this area at least, because I've just filled up the mobility car as well. But I'll sort of get onto this with my little ranty. yeah, the traffic queues have died down somewhat this morning, which is great. Although there are still stations that are closed off. Interestingly, the one I filled the bike up this morning, I've just gone past it again because I've just dropped someone off at Southend Hospital. That one's now closed off. So yeah, there wasn't obviously not left in there. Yeah, and they're getting onto the mobility vehicle. Now, when I left it Thursday after I finished my last job, there was just under half a tank in here, which I know that sounds reasonable, but where with my car has a nice big fuel tank, the one in the mobility car is about half the size. It's quite shallow. I don't know if it's an adapted fuel tank because the floor pan in this is adapted to take the wheelchair. So I don't know if the fuel tank in this is smaller than what it would have been, but it literally takes just over half the amount of fuel that my Saab can do. So it was like, yeah, I've got half a tank, but it's not going to last long. Fortunately, the queue for the garage around the corner to where we're based was pretty reasonable. I managed to get in and out of there about in under 10 minutes, so that was quite good. But yeah, sort of going back to people losing their shit. Now, you know, I watched it with incredulity. I think that's how you pronounce it. You know, over the weekend. I mean, certainly when I went to Putney Friday night, the queues I was driving past. Hello, little squirrel. Always found me have a Brazil nut. I've got 2 squirrels that run around where I live, and I chucked some Brazil nuts out for them, and yeah, I've just seen him run off with one. Yeah, so as I say, we wait at Putney on Friday night. Now I do. When I used to work at the place years ago, I used to go direct through London for, you know, I mean, like, it's slow, but you know, the site's quite good. I know the route. Because of the ULEZ and congestion charge now, that's out the window. I go the long route round, which is M25, come off junction 8 or 9, either or normally. On this instance, it's the A217, so I think it's junction 8. A217, he's still got that nut in his mouth. I'll rephrase that. So he's just running around in front of my car. Yeah, so A217, A3. Every station I passed, the queues were horrendous, and you could see people getting pissed off and everything. And now he's calling on the under. So that's where you're burying your food. Gotcha. Oh, I'm going to set up a camera out here. That'd be an interesting thing. I'm going off pace again. I do apologise. Back to where I was. Yeah, the fuel stations were packed to the rafters, but obviously people getting annoyed and everything. And yeah, as I say, I had a little bit of smugness driving past it because I filled up Thursday, but the media. Now I said before, which is why I filmed the protest, because I know they won't get touched by media. A lot of us that do this kind of thing knew that, you know, which is why we've been out filming all those bits and pieces, because the media will either blatantly ignore it or, you know, they'll try and play it so it sounds like everyone's a nut job and all the rest of it. But again, you know, just going off piece a bit. But yeah, the media should be able to account over this for the fear-mongering that they've created. But then they know that because they know how the public would react. You know, you drop this instill this bit of fear, and all of a sudden, people lose their shit. And that's exactly what they've done and what they have been doing. If there's a plus to come out of this, now I've spoken to a few people who said, it said basically the same thing, that the news channels have been out fear-mongering. So I'm kind of hoping that leading on from that, and the distrust in our politicians as well has increased. So if there's a positive outcome from this, I'm hoping that people are going to be more questioning of the media because they've seen the fear-mongering for themselves now because they've been involved. And the same with their politicians, but you know, that's by the by. And again, I'm just going to go on quickly to the selfishness of some people. I mean, watching people fill up carrier bags. I mean, for Christ's sake, Where's your common sense? But it just absolutely beggars belief. Not only are you doing things like that, but the pure selfishness there. If you're, all right, there's people out there who work for a living that need the vehicles, which I'll get onto because I do, But everyone's just like, oh God, I've got 3/4 of a tank, I best go and fill up. It's just wrong. You've got a decent tank range, whatever you drive. Meanwhile, there's people who the driving is essential. I mean, my daytime job, that is my job. My job is to drive. I have to take elderly people who would otherwise not get out to their medical appointments, the shopping, the social. I mean, God knows the old people have been affected more than anything over all this COVID BS. Not been able to see their friends and family because they've been scared, witless, and so on. To the service that the charity that I work for, the service they provide, and we're not alone, obviously, because there's things operates in similar ways up and down the country. Your selfishness is now going to affect that. Your selfishness in thinking of putting 1/4 of a tank in your motor is now going to affect maybe your grandparents or someone old that is now going to be affecting not being able to get out and do the essential things that they would, because you've taken that away from services such as the one I work for. Does that kind of make sense? So yeah. I don't think I'll ever get my head around that sort of thing. I mean, whether it's the same people that bought up all the bog roll last year. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I've got to stop ranting. I don't like ranting. I don't do ranting much. I like to keep things nice and positive, but sometimes I think things need to be said. So, anyway, moving on to content. Now, I'm actually up to the last episode was on YouTube. As I said before, fear not, I've got about 3 months of content to upload now. I'm just finishing off editing the last couple of bits, and it'll all be uploaded this week. I mean, to you, there will be no affecting continuity for episodes and bonus content and all that, but obviously to me, I've got quite a job on my hands. It was down to some of the things that I've edited, such as the Return to Redoubt fault, where I've had 2 cameras to deal with, plus EVP recorders and all the rest of it. Those things can take time if I'm tied up with other things. So that's done. The last couple of bits I've recorded should take a lot less time to edit, and I'll be back up to date. And actually going out and recording this week, and as I've said, because we work Saturday, Sunday was a bit limited to where we could go because Ricky and Tracy were up in Mistley, and I kind of wanted to record something closer to home because Ricky had work this morning and yesterday morning and all the rest. So Redoubt Fault has had to wait for the return until next week. I'm hoping the weather kind of holds off, because we're hoping, I think I've said at the time when you do watch it, is that hoping for a bit of a dry spell where things can dry out a bit in the front half, and maybe we can get in a pair of wellies, for example, because when we last went there, it was clear you needed waders and or a dinghy. It was that full up. So I'm hoping some of it's dried out enough for maybe us to go in with just wellies. So instead of doing Redoubt Fault this weekend, we've got to go back to Grain as well, with some suitably togged up to climb for a hole to have a look at this other fault. Yes, so instead of going there, there's a church up near Broomfield Hospital, which I park up to quite regularly when I've got someone at Broomfield. I just sit, it's nice and peaceful, and quiet, while I wait for a phone call for them to come back out again. So this church, it's St Mary's with Leonard Church, I believe. we went there. Yeah, it's a bit of a different thing. I won't go into details what we found because I haven't done the edit yet. And also picked up bits and pieces. Once I've gone through the edit to see exactly what was or what was not there. So that got that to look forward to. Now the actual episode that we've got coming up this Wednesday was a solo trip from myself to a place called Langenhoe, which is up near Colchester, and it's the site of a church called St Mary's. Now the church has long since gone, but there's reports of energies and hauntings and that sort of thing that went on there. The graveyard's still there, but it's very, very overgrown, as I found out, and as you'll see. But in the short recording that I did do, yeah, I did pick things up. So you're going to have that to look forward to. That's this Wednesday, so it's just me on my own, doing a little solo outing. And yeah, now obviously we're going into October now, so we've got Halloween coming up. So I'm trying to work out something for that at the moment. It might be another fault, but I have the fault I'm looking at, you need to book it up. So I'm going to look at that this week, see if that can be done, and if I can bring one or two other people in to do a nice explore of it, and if it costs money to go in, we can split the costs and try and keep the prices down. So yeah, that's what I'm going to look into this week. And also, last but not least, I want you guys to check out, those of you who haven't done so already, is a channel called Liquid Bullet Productionz, and I will drop the link below, or rather the link to the most recent recording they've done. And Lee's done a great job of interviewing a former detective called Albert Patrick, that's him. And this is to do with the Rettendon murders, and he is shedding some light on it. They are investigating it, basically, more than anything, to clear Jack Womes and Mickey Steele. You know, looking to try and clear their names of the murders that they didn't do. And he's a very, very impressive, down-to-earth, stoic fella. And yeah, as I say, I will drop the link for you guys. It's a 2-part. Yeah, and Albert does actually give me a mention, so I'm well chuffed that, you know, someone of that stature is watching my stuff, and hopefully what I've learned and what I've picked up from my own investigations can maybe help in any way people like Albert to, you know, in what directions to look at. You know, the paranormal stuff isn't an exact science. We all know that. It's not admissible in any way, shape or form, but there are certain instances where doing sort of paranormal psychic investigations can help to open up something that would have been closed off under normal circumstances. You know, that's why, particularly in the States, they use they do use psychics to try and find a body that's missing or a person that's missing. They can be brought in for those sort of things. As I say, it's not admissible as evidence, but they can sort of point or lead the way as to where to look. And I'm hoping that everything I've done has maybe helped in some way in that instance. And I've also got a couple more bits to do on the Rettendon thing myself. I still, now I have a drone, I'm going to look at doing a flyover where the lake is, and, you know, to get an idea on where the cannabis drops were, and I want to do possibly a final one, like the Billy Jasper, in that I want to look at the alternative timeline, which included statements from, reports from the landlord at the Old Fortune of War pub, who claimed that they were in his pub. The report of Craig Rolfe at the Carpenter's Arms. You know, the Range Rover, the second Range Rover that turned up that we were already established from my second paranormal investigation. And obviously there was the white van as well You know, all these little bits that have been overlooked, I want to look into. So I want to bring the overlooked reports in and see if we can shed some light there as well. Yeah, and would I do another paranormal investigation? We'll see. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Slightly longer this week, and I had a rant to get off my chest. Yes, again, Wednesday night, Langenhoe, the site of St Mary's Church. See you then. Take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.